Doreen, apart from claiming I am corrupt, I think
you're not corrupt.
You have done the question justice. Mark, from a planner's point of view, many times we hear commentators complaining about the planning in this country. And until recently, I think the new PS, before the new permanent secretary of the Ministry of Finance came in, he claimed, or rather it was, many commentators said that the budgeting process in the country was not based on the plans. We were budgeting first and then planning later. And we all know that anyone who budgets first then plans is in trouble. So how are you as an investment planner? I don't know what investment planners do for starters, but what is your role as an investment planner? And then how are you using your role to serve the public good in this country, especially ensuring that we budget, our budgets are based on plans?
Thank you, Marvin. That's a very loaded question. Huh? So many things all over the place. But to start with, at the National Planning Authority, we do strategic plans for the country. We give guidance at a strategic level. And currently we're implementing the NDP3, which is the National Development Plan 3, which has 20 programs along which the government is supposed to move over the next 5 years. But I didn't want to limit my discussion to the NDP or the planning process of the country. I came here with the mindset of, serving a public good, what it means to be a civil servant, but not limited to that, what it means to be a Ugandan, expecting these goods and services to be provided at the right time, for the right people, in the right quantities. So the way I want to look at it is that serving the public good is basically, as Awel had put it, Agachiro and Ubuntu combined. They come together, it's collectiveness, it's we all have a role to play if we want to see the Uganda or the Africa we all envision. So basically it's everyone taking responsibility for playing their specific role, whether it's the planning for me, whether it's in the private sector for a lot of you, whether it's citizens, to see that the services are provided at the right time to the right people in the right amounts. But to bring it back to the planning point of view and at National Planning Authority, so we develop these plans and it's a consultative process. We start from, the citizens going down and then from the top going down as well. So we develop these plans that are supposed to guide the budgeting process, And of course, before we had a lot of, things coming into the budget that are not planned, so to speak. But this happens, and I'm not saying it's right, but it's happening. But we're moving to this program-based approach to budgeting and planning, whereby the budget is basically cascaded down from the plan. The planning is involving the budget. I can speak for a fact that the 22-23 budget is a direct reflection of the planning process because it is a program-based budget, which is directly speaking to the National Development Plan 3, which we're currently implementing. Yeah, thank you.
So it's safe to say that we shall achieve Vision 2040?
I'll put it to everyone here as well again. This is a collective effort. At the planning, we give you the plans. We tell you this is what we need, this is how to get there. But the implementation lies with everyone. And that's why we're actually focusing on a quasi-market approach where we have the public sector, the government working, but we also need the private sector directly involved such that we achieve our aspirations.
Yeah, I think later on I'll invite some people from the audience. I hope there'll be some private sector people who will have some hard questions for the planners. Chark, from your perspective, the Revenue Authority, what does it mean to serve the public good? The URA has been on a PR campaign the past year or so, telling us about how our taxes are being spent well and the like. So from your viewpoint, I know you're in a small department in a court, you said, but if you take it out, like Mark said, what does it mean to serve the public good?
Thank you,
my brother Dong. When I first got information about this discussion, I was imagining what is the public good, and it took me back to the economics. Remember in high school what the public good means, But as I tried to think more critically about this topic, I thought that to simplify the whole discussion, public good, serving the public good, just means simply the consciousness of the impact of one's actions. So as a public servant, are you aware of the impact that you are creating with the decisions you make, the actions you take? And it is simple. It goes to we've heard of the old public sector arrangement where people come and leave coats on the chairs and they move out. I mean, it goes beyond the KPIs, serving the public good, because we all know that in organizations we have KPIs, we have things that are spelled out, the culture, but serving the public good means getting out of the way to do extraordinary things in a great way and impacting society. I will tell you that I'm serving in the URA court, which is the objections currently, but my first time in junior, I started with registering a teen in downtown Chukubo. I have worked in compliance, I have worked in audit, and all these places, but I've kept on appreciating service, yeah, and one's impact. When I'm charged with my duties, and I look at it as just a job that gives my paycheck, that pays me, then I will just do the ordinary. If you come to me, for example, on my desk, you have a case, and my job is to resolve the dispute between you and URA. You're disgruntled, and my job is simply look at your case, look at your facts, look at the law, and I pass a decision. But serving public good means going beyond what is required of you on your desk. For example, I have taken this upon myself that every time a taxpayer comes to my office and sits on my desk, I first take them through some bit of literacy to understand and appreciate taxes. All of us here, we appreciate that taxes it's not a common discussion. Every person talks about taxes, they are bitter about with taxes, they're talking about the unfairness of the tax body. So it's a whole, and from the Bible times, by the way. We are not talking about the URA, we're talking about from the Bible times. Tax has never been an easy discussion. So how do I make sure I change someone's, beyond just the dispute that we are settling, how do I go ahead to make sure that I change someone's attitude and also show them the impact of taxes on their businesses? I give them a bit of compliance advisory on how they can best deal with taxes, and that's kind of sort of arrangement. But it's not required of me. It is just getting out of my way to try to push out that information to make sure that someone who visits my desk goes back a different person. And I will challenge you that serving the public good, it's not necessarily meaning that you must be a public servant from the old traditional definition of a public servant being an employee of the state or local government. Serving the public good, it can be in any portfolio, in any capacity, in any place where you are, you can serve the public good. It's not a preserve of people who are in these offices. Because you realize that most times, people that we think we expect a lot from, it's always the smallest portion of the society. If, for example, you want to say that it should be members of parliament to do this, to serve the public good, how many are there in a society? In your constituency, there's only one person. So you can't expect much from them. So I think the discussion of public service should now shift from people in offices now to the society. If the society is aware, if there's civic engagement, and people know that if you're a public servant, for example, there are people who think that if I am in that office, I am the alpha and omega. They don't know that I have guiding the code of ethics, what is required of me. People are not aware. That is why you come to someone's office and it's like literally you're begging for their service, because you're not aware, you don't have the information power to know that actually this person who is in that office, it's not his office, it's not his permanent place. He's just there to serve you. So I think public service should be looked at in both ways, from the person who is providing the service and who is serving the public, but also from the people who should be demanding the service. Society should be well, they should have the awareness to know that this public service is actually a right to them. They must be served. And it should not be looked at as you are walking into that office, you have to beg, you have to bribe, you know. You don't have to come to here and say, we have all over here, if you reach there, every any place there is tax identification number is for free. But still someone will be asked money and they are going to pay. Time and again, we are creating awareness, telling people that these services are for free. Please don't pay for the services. So please, some of these discussions are very good because they try to stimulate the discussion in the public so that people can understand that serving the public good is not a one-way thing, or it's not something that is a preserve of people who are in these offices. No, even you as a border person, you can serve public good. Even you as a taxi driver, as you're taking these kids in the morning on a rainy day, you've seen a lot of border accidents around Kampala. You saw the video, it was nasty. But the action, your actions, the impact of your actions is what differentiates, what creates a difference. Is what defines public good, serving public good. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Chark. You mentioned something, and it got me thinking. You said serving the public good should not be just a preserve of the civil servants or people in leadership, and I agree. Although I feel like the people in leadership, people like us, have a critical role to play in being exemplary. Because a person, say about a border rider or a taxi driver, if they see a person driving a car with government plates, not respecting traffic, then there's a strong ripple effect. Because then you have about 1,000 taxis who are willing to do the same thing because they just saw somebody do it, you know? And this could start from the smallest level, the lowest level. Let's look at the household, you know? Do you sort your rubbish? Do you separate it? Do you have non-biodegradable and biodegradable items separately? When you don't do something like that, there's an effect on the environment, you know? You're sending rubbish out of your house, you don't care how it's living, and then when the garbage man comes to pick it, he has an uphill task, so he doesn't bother to do any of it, and then he just sends it to the collection point, and then it's out into the environment, and then we are suffering. So as people, as leaders at this level, we also need to look at ourselves at that level. We say, in the smallest unit, we must be able to be exemplary, regardless of the fact that we expect the people at the bottom to be exemplary, but even as individuals, we must hold ourselves to a certain, in a certain regard. And that's why, for example, we have today, a lot of us have no faith in the public service of Uganda. I know the four of us here are not from the traditional public service. It would have been nice to have somebody from one of the ministries, because it seems like we are from entities that have taken a sort of corporate culture, right? We are trying to change. The public service is trying to evolve from the old original public service, you know, the one where people leave courts and go off to have breakfast for 3 days, you know. But that is changing. With us, with our organizations, it's changing. And it's a slow process, but it's changing, because even apart from an organization like UNOC that came and is completely new, we have URA that's about 30 years old, NPA is probably about the same. And we have people in these organizations that came from the traditional public service, you know, and they still hold this hierarchy. You know, Marvin cannot tell the director that this is not right or whatever, you know. Then we have the Gamba no good thing, you know. I do something and then you say, but do you know who you're, for example, I do something right and Doreen wanted to do it the other way, and then Doreen is, and it affects my decision, you know, regardless of if it is a good decision, an upright decision. I now have to bend because Mark has informed me, he has shared new information with me that could very easily affect my position in the organization. and I must abide. You know? Doreen, relating to the Gambanogo thing and the hierarchies in government, you are in a very touchy sector, you know? Oil is being seen as the silver bullet for Uganda's development. All of us, even us at the bottom, we are hoping that the oil in Hoima will flow and I'll also become rich. I see myself living in Kololo after first oil in 2025. You know, thank you. So, how are you going about this? Because I feel like there's so much weight on your shoulders, especially in terms of public service. Because, you know, we have examples of countries like Qatar now at the World Cup. I mean, they have oil and it's almost like heaven there. They spent $200 billion to prepare for the World Cup.